Hey guys, Drano Zero, how you doing? I hope all is well in YouTube land, whatever part of the world you are in. Okay, y'all wanted to see some more what I consider to be extremely boring, mundane, everyday crap. So here's another extremely everyday, boring, crap, mundane, whatever video. Prepping some traps for the coyotes. We're having some coyote issues up and down the creek here, and it's time for them to go because they're starting to cause problems with the spring coming on, and we're going to have baby critters and baby pigs, hopefully, and the calves up down the creek and the fawns. It's just the coyotes are getting out of hand. So we're going to set a couple of trap lines for them. I picked up some new traps today. These are brand new. These are called Duke #2s. The #2 is what I use for trapping coyotes. Like I said, this is called a Duke trap. It's a double spring leg hold trap. And but before we start using these traps, before we put them into a line, we've got to do some preparations to them first. Now, the first thing that we're going to have to do is, when these traps are manufactured, the steel that they use is still going to have some of the residue oils and burrs and grease and stuff like that on there from the manufacturing process. So the very first thing that we have to do is boil this in water so that we can get all of that off of there. We don't want anything that smells out of place on this trap when we set it, because wild animals have got extremely good senses of smell, and anything that smells out of place is going to be an alert for them, and you're not going to be able to catch them in your set. So what we're going to do is we're going to, this is a group of 4, these brand new traps. I've just got a big pot of regular water on there that's going to, it's coming to a boil right now on my little propane burner. We're just going to set these traps in the water, chains and all. I got them hooked together with a little piece of wire right here so that I can fish them out later. And we're going to boil these. What I want you to notice is how shiny they are right now when they're brand new. You see how shiny the metal is, and we'll see the difference when they're done boiling. We'll boil them for probably, I don't know, 15 to 30 minutes. Once they come to a really hot, full rolling boil, then we'll boil them for 15 to 30 minutes depending on how fast I get back over to here. So anyway, now we're going to put them into the water and boil them up real good. And this will also be the last time I touch these traps without having gloves on my hands, because we don't want to leave any scent on them once they're boiled and it's down to the bare raw metal. Then we'll go to the dipping or dyeing them, and we'll do that here in a little while. But this will be the last time that I touch these with my bare hands without having gloves on. So we're going to put them into the water, and like I say, let it come back to a full rolling boil, and then let them boil for 15-30 minutes until I get back to them, as long as they get a nice good hard boil going on to get that stuff off there. And you'll be able to see, we'll show you the water after we're done. You'll see the stuff floating around on the top, and then I'll show you a little trick that I learned on how to get around pulling your traps back out through that little crap that's floating around on top, but we'll deal with that here a little bit. So anyway, step 1, get traps. Step 2, put traps in boiling water for 15-30 minutes and boil all the stuff off of them. So we'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay guys, so we are about done here with our boiling. We're going to turn the heat off, and you'll see here in the water, unless the lens gets all fogged up, you'll see that brown filmy stuff that's floating around with the bubbles. That's all the oil and all the grease and the residues and stuff from the manufacturing process of this trap. So we don't want to pull our traps out of that water right now, because it'll just recoat the trap and we'll get some more in the trap. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it over here away from everything. We're going to take some clean water and we're going to flood that stuff out of there. Crap, I need more water. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to add some more water until it floods over the top here. Let me get this other bucket. It'll flood and run over the top, and it'll get rid of all that extra oil, just like that. That way all that oil that's on the top that skims can skim off and run out. That way when you pull your trap out of there, it's not going to get recoated with that stuff. So now I will get my tongs get my tongs here, just make sure everything's off the top. Reach in here and grab my wire that I had them together with. You can see how they're a lot more dull in color than what they were. They're not nowhere near as shiny and as oily. So now we're just going to set them over here, just like that. And let them drip dry and air dry for quite some time until they're completely dry. And I'll probably run out of daylight today because I got a little bit of a late start here this evening, but it is what it is. And if I do run out of daylight, then we'll pick it up in the morning and I'll show you guys how I dye them and wax them. A lot of guys at this stage would just go ahead and wax them and use them. They wouldn't dye them yet. They would wait for the metal to start getting what they call a patina on it so that the dye would stick a little bit better. But me, I go ahead and dye them at this point just because they're going to get wet, they're going to get rusty, and I don't want to have to deal with rust and stuff like that on there. So what I'm going to do is let these drip dry, and then we will dye one maybe this evening, probably in the morning, because I'll probably run out of daylight here before too long. So I will see you guys in the morning, but as we all know, in video land, it'll be about a second. Okay guys, so we got our traps. They're all the way dry now. So in this large coffee can here, I mixed up my dye dip solution. This will color the trap and it'll help kind of like as a rust inhibitor. And I just use, this is called Dakota Line Trap and Snare dip. And I just get that from our local hillbilly store over in Wayne County. Now I hook a little piece of wire through the end of the loop here of the trap, and I'm just going to dip this, like it says, just dip it into the trap and get it all the way covered. Put the whole thing in there. Notice I got rubber gloves on. I don't want to get my smell onto this trap. So I'm using this coffee can here because that way when I'm done, I can just put the lid back on here and set it aside. In the next couple of days when I do another batch of traps, all I got to do, it's already made, all I got to do is pull it out and use it. So sit in here, lift it up and down a couple times to make sure that it gets all coated with the dye. Pull it out, shake off the excess, and then I'm just going to hang it over here on a screw and let it air dry. I'll let it air dry overnight, and then we'll come back out tomorrow. I'll finish these up, dipping them the same way, all of them, and then we'll come out here tomorrow when we've got light, and I'll show you how I put a coating of wax on them. The wax seals it, and it helps keep any kind of scent off of it, and it also helps keep the trap lubricated where it works in good working order all the time. So we'll go ahead and finish up dyeing these traps, and tomorrow we will wax them. So we're going to run out of daylight tonight, so we'll pick everything up tomorrow. Okay guys, you can see we've got some wax melting here in this little number 10 can. The wax, usually it just comes in a block or so. I need to get more because I only had the one block and that's not enough. I will get more and use a bigger vessel. But this, I just wanted to show what we do and the reason why some dudes don't wax their traps at all. And it's more of a personal preference thing, I think. I wax my traps because how I was taught was what the wax does is it completely coats the trap, and it helps, one, to keep any kind of R scent off of it, and two, it helps lubricate the trap and keep it in a good working order, meaning that if I set this trap and I put it in mud and it gets wet and stuff will freeze right to this metal, whereas if I have wax on there, it won't freeze to the metal. It'll keep it lubricated to where the ice crystals and the dirt and stuff won't freeze to the trap, and it will still operate even though it's freezing conditions outside. Like I said, I'm not any kind of an expert trapper or a mountain man dude. That's just how I was taught many years ago, and I still do the same thing. I still wax my traps. So what I'll do is I'll just take, and since this is a really small can, I'm gonna have to dip them a little bit at a time to get them coated. So I'll just set it in there and let it set for a couple of minutes. The absolute perfect world, you'd have a place where you could set your trap all the way submerged in it, and another dude said, and it made good sense to me, leave your trap in there long enough so that the metal itself can get to the same temperature as the hot wax. That will help the pores of the metal open up and the wax to fill those in. Some dudes say just dip them and pull them out. Some dudes say dip them and leave them in for 30 seconds. Some dudes say leave them in until the trap is hot. I will leave mine in until the trap is hot because it makes, like I say, it makes sense to me that the metal being warm with the pores opening up to get more wax in there to get a better lubrication. Again, not an expert, personal preference thing. So anyway, now we're just going to dip our traps, and you can see when we pull them out, they'll be coated in wax, and that will help keep everything lubed up and functioning properly. Hopefully, that's the theory. And we'll end this video here on trap preparation. The traps are now going to be ready. Once they're done being waxed, they'll be ready to set. So the next video, we will go set some traps and go from there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped. God bless. The end. Buzz, buzz. The end.